Alright, in today's class we are going to see atomic structure. Okay. Now this is your second topic in modern physics, and in that, okay, what is the outline of this lecture is you will be studying, okay, Dalton's atomic theory first. Okay, Dalton's atomic theory number 1. Second, Thomson's plum pudding model or watermelon model, then followed by Rutherford's model, then followed by Bohr's model of atom. Okay, so what you are going to learn in this chapter is similar to what you are going to learn in chemistry. Okay, so first Dalton explained something, next Thomson explained something, then Rutherford, then Bohr. Now all this what you are going to study, okay, I mean each theory or each model has improved version. Okay, each model is kind of improved version from the previous one. Okay, so now out of these four, okay, out of these four basic models, okay, your final idea of atom is, okay, in the center you have nucleus, electrons will be revolving around the nucleus, and inside the nucleus there will be protons, neutrons and mesons and some other subatomic particles. Okay, so in this chapter we will not worry about the nucleus. Okay, without understanding nucleus, okay, we are going to study what an atom consists of, and that is our ultimate target in this chapter. Okay, next chapter in modern physics will be nuclear physics. In that you will actually study in detail about the nucleus. Okay, now what you are going to learn, as I have told you, it is similar to chemistry atomic structure. Okay, so let us start. Okay, so your first idea is Dalton's atomic theory. Okay, so Dalton atomic theory was actually developed in around 1808. Okay, so according to Dalton's atomic theory, okay, this was the first model that was actually trying to explain the structure of atom. Okay, I can say first model that tried to explain structure of atom. Okay, so now here did it actually explain the structure of atom means no, but what it told was every material that you take, okay, every material that you take, it will have, okay, atoms. These atoms are indivisible and they can neither be created nor destroyed. Okay, that was the explanation given by Dalton, and all atoms of same elements are identical. If you take some big atom, big compound, you can say, inside that if there are many atoms, all these atoms are identical and they have same properties. And if this is some sodium, for example, and if there is some copper metal, so this copper atoms will have same properties, all copper atoms, but properties of sodium atom will be different from copper atom, that he told. Okay, that is why chemical reactions will happen. That's what he tried to explain. Okay, different elements, different properties, but within the same element all atoms are identical and it is stable and electrically neutral. Okay, this was given by Dalton's atomic theory. Okay, now, okay, is this correct means, okay, is this correct means, okay, my answer would be, okay, no, because I have studied it that there are more improvised versions. But in the starting stages, when nobody tried to understand atom, Dalton was actually the responsible person to do that. Okay, now in the modern science you have scanning tunneling microscope, which will actually help us to do detailed analysis on the atom. Okay, so that is at present state, but previously we don't have such kind of this thing. Okay, so all these are basic stuff which you will be studying for board. Okay, come on, copy this and remember it. Pause the video clip and copy it. Okay, right, next model was Thomson's atomic model. Okay, so nobody actually did much of an argument on Dalton's atomic theory. Later Thomson developed one more model to explain the structure of atom. According to him, what? According to Thomson's atomic model, or you can say watermelon model. Okay, in some books, some others will be writing it as watermelon model. What did he tell about atom is, okay, so he told that inside a watermelon, like how you have your seeds, and the red color one was the actual content of the fruit. Your positive charge is that kind of red color one. The seeds that you have, black color ones or whatever, okay, those are actually your electrons. Okay, that's what he told. Okay, your atom is overall neutral because you are like how you have watermelon, big watermelon, and inside that you have some paste. Every atom will have a big positive charge of paste, and inside that paste there will be some electrons randomly distributed here and there. Okay, so that's what Thomson gave. Okay, but overall that positive and negative charge was balanced. That's what Thomson's atomic model told. But the problem with this is, okay, what is the drawback of this is, okay, in this method there is no nucleus, and here usually our positive charge is supposed to be because of protons that we have known, that is known to us today, but previously that existence of proton was not at all explained. So here positive charge is containing mass, but this much mass greater than compared to electrons is kind of not acceptable. But he told that why is this atom stable means because the positive and negative charge is balancing, it is going to be stable. He tried to explain, but it is not correct. Okay, so the drawback of this is there is no nucleus and no positive charge, neutral, stable. Right now, to overcome this problem, okay, Rutherford told that, okay, no, Thomson is wrong. Okay, actually it is not the case. With my Rutherford, with my experiment, I am going to explain what is going to happen to Thomson's model. He told, and what is the structure of atom, he tried to explain. Okay, so first model he did not explain anything inside the atom, Dalton's model. But when it comes to Thomson model, he tried to explain, but later it was disproved by Rutherford. Okay, now in Rutherford, okay, in Rutherford's atomic model, okay, in Rutherford's atomic model, what is happening is, okay, you have a source, okay, you have a source. Okay, let me erase this. This was explained to some other batch long back. So same setup and same slides I am using. So let me erase it. Just hold on. Yeah. So Rutherford tried to explain the structure of atom. Okay. So how did he explain? What are his conclusions? I will tell you. Okay. So what he did was, okay, first if you look at this figure, okay, he took a radioactive source. Okay, he took a radioactive source. Okay, now this radioactive source, what it will do, radioactive source will eventually what, it will emit, okay, alpha particles. Okay, radioactive source will emit alpha particles. These alpha particles, okay, they are passed through thin gold foil. Okay, now after doing that, okay, now what will happen if alpha particles, okay, actually he understood that, okay, this is your zinc sulfide screen. Okay, this zinc sulfide screen, okay, it will produce flash. Okay, it will produce flash when alpha particle strikes screen. When alpha particle strikes the screen, it will produce flash. So what is this doing? It is producing a flash. Now because of the flash, okay, you will get to know through microscope, if you are observing some spectral lines are observed. So this flash will indicate that some of the alpha particle is actually striking. So what did he do is, okay, he kept moving this zinc sulfide screen at different positions. Okay, and he observed these few important observations, that is, okay, right, most of the alpha particles are passing through straight line motion. That means atom is empty. Okay, I mean empty in the sense there is some vacant space. Observation number 2, this is your first observation. Second observation is some alpha particles deviate through large angle. Okay, now while Rutherford was doing the experiment, he did not know that alpha particle is actually doubly ionized helium nucleus. You might have studied in electrostatics, okay, but this is positively charged, okay. Now this much deviation is there, that means there is some negative charge, electrons are revolving around nucleus, or revolving around nucleus. This is what Rutherford gave, okay. Now, okay, about 1 in 8,000 is repelling back, means at the center, okay, at the center there is, okay, at the center there is positive charge, okay. He gave these few properties, okay, he gave these few properties. From this, okay, from this your structure of atom, what is it becoming? So rough idea what Rutherford gave is, okay, rough idea what Rutherford gave is, okay, he told that at the center you have nucleus with positive charge, okay, that is plus Zd. Around this there are electrons, they are revolving in clockwise anti-clockwise direction, something like that he gave, okay. Now this is your final Rutherford's model, okay, right. Dalton told atom is indivisible, inside atom you cannot split it, but that is not true, okay, because all the nuclear reactions that you take, that nucleus will split and it will produce a one more nucleus, okay. Stable atoms they will not split, or else there is possibility, okay. So final Rutherford's model is this. Now, okay, so for this model also there is a drawback, but we will come to that later. But first let us try to understand this Rutherford's model and where problems will come. Now these are the conclusions, okay. I don't need to dictate, or I need not ask you to copy this content. Where problems come, that is important. So according to Rutherford's model, okay, according to Rutherford's model, this angle that you have here, okay, this angle, okay, this angle that you have here, okay, theta is your scattering angle. This is called as scattering angle, okay. Now it's not that only one alpha particle will actually strike the zinc sulfide screen. Many alpha particles could strike the zinc sulfide screen, okay. So what he told was, okay, he gave an important relation, that is, okay, Rutherford's scattering formula, okay, he gave Rutherford's scattering formula, okay. So this is one area from where question could come. So your Rutherford's scattering formula, what it is, okay, it is given by, don't worry, derivation is not required, end result is important, okay. Your number of alpha particles per unit area that reach the zinc sulfide screen at scattering angle theta is given by, okay, it is inversely proportional to 1 by sin power 4 theta by 2, okay, where theta is your scattering angle, okay. This is what he gave, okay. It explains how many alpha particles are striking per unit area per unit time, okay. Now based on this, let us try to do a simple question, okay. Now what is the question is, so this is your question, okay. So you are supposed to calculate this, okay. So your what is that you have is, okay, at theta equal to 60 degrees, n of theta is 100. At theta equal to 90 degrees, n of theta is how much? This is your question, okay. Now pause the video clip, try the question, then anyhow you can continue the solution, okay. Now let me explain the solution. So we know that your n of theta is inversely proportional to sin power 4 theta by 2, okay. From this I can write n1 by n2 is sin power 4 of theta 2 by 2 whole divided by sin power 4 of theta 1 by 2, inverse proportionality, okay. N sin power 4 theta by 2 is constant, so that is why this is the case. So now, okay, first one you put it in the denominator, this you take it as n1, this if you take it as n2, this if you take it as theta 1, and this if you take it as theta 2, n1 by n2 is 100, that is equal to sine power 4 of, okay, theta 2 is theta 2 is 60 by 20, that is 30 degrees, by sine power 4 of theta 1 is 90 by 2, that is equal to 45. So that implies your n1 by 100 is sine 30 is 1 by 2. So 1 by 2 whole power 4 by 1 by sine 45 is 1 by root 2 whole power 4. From here you can calculate the value of n1. Okay. So it is approximately, this is power 4, sorry. So you should be getting it as n1 by 100 is equal to 1 by 2 power 4 is 16 times root 2 whole power 4 is 4. Okay, because root 2 whole square is 2, 2 square is 4. So 4 ones, 4 fours, 4 ones, 4 25. So you are going to get it as 25 particles per minute. Okay, right? So this is your basic idea. Okay, right? Next, your next one is, okay, your next one is distance of closest approach. Distance of closest approach. In Rutherford's model only, okay, and I can say your estimation of nuclear size, it is not required. I don't think it is even in your syllabus. But how to solve questions related to distance of closest approach, that I will explain. Okay, right? Because we don't need to study what's not there in the syllabus. If things, I mean, if I want to teach, I can teach a lot. Reading higher level books, lot of information will come, and I can print everything on the screen, but that will actually kill your time. Okay, what the limited in JEE, it's not like you should attempt every question. Okay, important ones, if you are able to solve it, still you will be able to crack the exam. Okay, when it comes to this distance of it's not closed approach, it is closest approach. Okay, so what are the questions I will tell you, but before that you might have studied in, okay, which one, electrostatics. Okay, so if you take some charged particle coming close towards the nucleus, okay, if you take some charged particle, like for example if you are taking some alpha particle itself, this alpha particle will have charge of plus 2e and mass of 4 times mass of proton. Now, okay, you might have studied that, okay, your charge of electron is 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs, and your mass of proton is 1.67 into 10 power minus 27 kg. Okay, right? So now if you take an alpha particle, if that alpha particle is coming close towards the nucleus like this, now what will happen is your electric field is a conservative field, okay, and your electric force is conservative force. Now when conservative forces act on the system, okay, that means there is no external force. If that particle acts force on this atom, then this atom also will exert some force on that particle. Okay, as a result what will happen is there is no external force, so you can apply momentum conservation as well as, okay, you can apply momentum conservation as well as mechanical energy conservation. Mechanical energy conservation also can be done. Now if you take this mechanical energy, what is this mechanical energy? Potential energy plus kinetic energy is equal to constant. So now here between charged particles you will have electrostatic potential energy. This you might have studied in your electrostatics. So as a result what will happen is when the charged particle comes from infinity, let us say it is coming from infinity, okay, it is coming from infinity and stopping at some distance r, okay, stopping at some distance r like this. Now, okay, in this case, okay, how do you actually set up your equation? I will tell you. Okay, so if you take this PE initial, okay, plus KE initial is equal to PE final plus KE final, okay, what will happen is your potential energy, electrostatic potential energy is given by K Q1 Q2 by R. Okay, if you want, I'll write it to the side. K Q1 Q2 by R is what? Electrostatic potential energy between two charged particles. So K Q1 is 2e, and this because of the nucleus it is plus Ze, by distance is infinity, plus initial kinetic energy at infinity some half mv square is there, that is equal to K into charge Q1 Q2 Ze by, okay, what is your minimum distance means R minimum, plus Ke final is 0, half m v square, this part is anyhow going to become 0, okay, right. And at this infinity, any number by infinity is 0. Here because it is stopping, at stop velocity is equal to 0. So this will give you what? Half m v square kinetic energy is equal to K Q1 Q2 by R 2e into Za by R min, like this. Now, okay, in the exams they will give you the values, okay, what is, which kind of nucleus it is, and they will give you with what velocity or with what kinetic energy that some alpha particle is coming, okay. So based on this also in Rutherford's model you will be having basic questions and you are supposed to do those, okay, alright. In electrostatics we have seen that your K value is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, that is equal to 9 into 10 power 9, and if you see unit of energy as electron volt, it is 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 joules. All these expressions you have to substitute, okay. So your question is this, okay, based on this let me give a simple question. What is the distance of closest approach? What is the distance of closest approach of 5 mega electron volt proton, 5 mega electron volt proton, okay, that approaches a gold nucleus, that approaches a gold nucleus, okay, right. So let's do that. Try to give the answer. Pause the video clip, try the solution sincerely, okay. Now hope you have tried it sincerely. Let's continue. So gold nucleus, if you take gold atomic number, they will give you Z is 79. So at the center you will have 79e positive charge. Proton is coming, proton will have a charge of E, this distance is R. Now 5 mega electron volt is given, that means indirectly your kinetic energy is given. So Ke initial plus P initial is equal to Ke final plus Pa final. Now from infinity if it is coming, initial potential energy is 0, since R is infinity, any number by infinity is 0, okay. Ke initial is half into, okay, mass, okay, mass of the proton, you don't need to substitute because K is given, no, directly energy is given as 5 mega electron volt, that is 5 into 10 power 6 times 1.6 into 10 power minus 19, that is equal to, at close distance of approach final velocity is anyhow going to become 0, okay. This is if you are taking it as R min. At R min kinetic energy is 0, that will give you equal to, okay, Pa final, okay, that is K 9 into 10 power 9 Q1 Q2, okay, 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 times 79e, that is 79 1.6 into 10 power minus 19. So this 1.6, this 1.6 will cancel off. K Q1 Q2 by R, okay, for this I am substituting K Q1 Q2 by R. K value 9 into 10 power 9, and this is your minimum distance, okay. Now let's simplify this. So you got 5 R min as from this expression, okay, 9 into 10 power 9 into 79 into 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 whole divided by 5 into 10 power 6. You simplify, you will get close to some 2.3 into 10 power minus 14, okay. So which is, if you want to write it in terms of 10 power minus 15, it is close to some 23 Fermi meters, where 1 Fermi is 10 power minus 15 meters, okay. So like this you are supposed to solve the question, okay, alright. Your next part is your limitations of Rutherford's model. Okay, so basic problems I have listed. So next is limitations of Rutherford's model. Now, okay, to overcome these limitations only Bohr's model was into existence. Now, your first property or first drawback is, okay, what is the key idea? First let me explain. Okay, so accelerating charges will produce electromagnetic radiation. Okay, will produce electromagnetic radiation. Accelerating charges will produce electromagnetic radiation. This was given by Maxwell's electromagnetic wave theory. Now this accelerating charges, if you take, okay, if it is emitting radiation, radiation is kind of form of energy. Now if an electron, okay, if you take this nucleus and if there is some electron revolving like this, now when it is going in a circle, okay, when it is going in a circle, what will happen? There will be some acceleration directed towards center if it is some uniform circular motion. That means this, if there is some acceleration, obviously it should produce electromagnetic radiation. If it is producing electromagnetic radiation, that means it is losing energy. Okay, so if it is losing energy, what will happen? This radius will decrease. Eventually this electron will spiral into the nucleus. Okay, so then if electron falls into the nucleus, atom becomes unstable. Okay, so this limitation Rutherford failed to explain. Okay, he told that it is going in nucleus. Okay, fine, everybody accepted it, but according to electromagnetic wave theory, if you take, okay, this electron which is going in around in nucleus in circles, because it is producing electromagnetic radiation, that energy will be lost. Okay, so here I will do that. Okay, so your limitations of Rutherford's model is, okay, first point, according to electromagnetic wave theory, electron when it revolves around nucleus, okay, it produces electromagnetic radiation. Causing loss of energy, okay, causing loss of kinetic energy, okay, and basically mechanical energy is lost. Okay, causing loss of kinetic energy. Okay, so this implies what will happen? Okay, radius of orbit of electron keeps decreasing, and eventually electron spirals out into the nucleus. Okay, electron spirals out into the nucleus. Okay, causing, okay, instability and collision. Okay, so as a result your nucleus is unstable. Okay, so this was the drawback and Rutherford could not explain, okay, this. Okay, so this was the second thing. Okay, so next, second limitation was, okay, electron must emit continuous radiation of all wavelengths. Okay, all wavelengths and frequencies. Okay, but only definite spectral lines were observed. Okay, definite spectral lines were observed. Okay, so this also Rutherford's model failed to explain. Okay, so to overcome this problem, okay, Bohr's model came into existence. Okay, so what is our next model? Bohr's model. Okay, so Bohr's model came into existence with this part. Okay. All right. Now Bohr's model Bohr's model has actually overcome the limitations of Rutherford's atomic model. Okay, so Bohr mainly gave two postulates. Okay, that is, your first postulate is your postulate 1, and what it says is your positive charge, it will be at the center, and your electron will revolve around the nucleus. Okay, around the nucleus in circular orbit. Okay, so I can say electrons revolve in circular orbits. Okay, they are called as, okay, stationary orbits. I will tell you that. Okay, stationary waves, how energy is not escaped. In stationary orbits also energy is not lost. Okay, in stationary orbits, because of electrostatic force of attraction. Because of electrostatic force of attraction. Okay, so that will give you, okay, that will give you k q1 q2 by r square, centripetal force is equal to mv square by r. So r will cancel off, 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, q1 you can substitute Ze, q2 you can substitute E by r is equal to mv square, but this equation is important here. I will tell you what to do with this, because this is the area from where we will be actually deriving our radius, velocity, everything. Okay, so first statement or first postulate is this, and your second postulate is postulate number 2. Okay, so what it says is, okay, electrons move in, okay, electrons move in discrete orbits called stationary orbits, as I have told you. Okay, stationary orbits, okay, for which total angular momentum is conserved. Total angular momentum is conserved. Okay, so what does this mean? I will tell you. So your second statement, what it says is mvr is equal to nh by 2 pi. Okay, angular momentum is, okay, angular momentum is mvr is equal to nh by 2 pi, where n is equal to 1, 2, 3, so on. Okay, so basically this is your principal quantum number. Okay, which you might have studied in your chemistry. Okay, so whatever you are going to learn here, same things will come in chemistry. Okay, right, chemistry atomic structure. So these are the main two postulates. From this only we will be deriving radius, velocity, orbital velocity, frequency, time period, everything. Okay, and based on this only we will be solving lot of questions. Okay, now we will try to derive this, and then we will try to understand what is happening. Okay, now using these two equations, okay, one is centripetal force is kq1 q2 by r square, and other one is mvr is equal to nh by 2 pi. I am going to derive, okay, I am going to derive, okay, radius, velocity, then energy, and followed by frequency. All these things I am going to derive from only two equations. Okay, so what are those two equations? K q1 q2 by r square, centripetal force is because of Coulomb's force, it is mv square by r, okay, where this part is Zd and this part is E, so your electron is moving like this. So it is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught times q1 is Zd times q2 into E by r square is equal to mv square by r, okay. Next, second rule is mvr is equal to nh by 2 pi, okay. Now in this, for mass, because the electron is moving, your mass of electron is, it is 9.11 into 10 power minus 31 kg, and your E value is 1.6 into 10 power minus 19. All those things we are going to substitute and simplify. So I will directly give the result, but still for formality sake. So first one is your radius of orbit. So how do you get this? Okay, radius of orbit is, okay, radius of electron in the orbit, with what radius it revolves, okay. So that will be given by, okay, so k times Ze into E, because the nucleus is having this thing, so that is equal to m mass of electron into V square by r. And second one is, okay, kq1 q2 by r square is equal to mv square by r, and your second one is, okay, mvr is equal to nh by 2 pi. So from here, okay, from the second equation, what is v? nh by 2 pi m into r. Now let us take this back and substitute in the top equation, okay. So if I do that, okay, what will I get is kz e square by r square is equal to m by r into v square is n square h square by 2 square is 4 pi square m square and r square. Now r square this side, r square this side will cancel off, okay, and one m will cancel off. You are going to get r is n square h square by 4 pi square m k z e square, okay. K value is, okay, k is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught 9 into 10 power 9, okay. H is Planck's constant 6.6 into 10 power minus 34, okay, and mass of electron is 9.11 into 10 power minus 31 kg. So substituting all these values, your radius of nth orbit is, okay, 0.529 n square by z Armstrongs, okay. So this you remember, okay, and this is important, and you might have studied this in your chemistry, okay. And if you want any doubts, okay, 1 Armstrong is 10 power minus 10 meters, 1 nanometer is 10 power minus 9 meters, okay, and 1 Fermi meter is 10 power minus 15 meters, okay. So like this, different values you can calculate and then do the simplification, and from here your Rn is directly proportional to n square by z, okay. So that box is the important thing. Now substitute this back r back into any one of the equations, you are going to get v, okay. So but still for formality sake, your velocity of electron in nth orbit is given by, okay, end result is important, what is there? So it is actually v is 1 by 137 times some constant c into z by n, okay, right. So you can do this, or else it is, okay, you might get confused with the proportionality constant and all stuff, but substitute, I can say, substitute previous Rn is 0.529 n square by z Armstrong into mvr is equal to nh by 2 pi, and you will be getting v n as velocity of electron in nth orbit as 2.2 into 10 power 6 z by n meters per second. This box is important. Okay, how to get this I have told you, so remember this result. So this is your velocity of electron into in the nth orbit. Okay, now next, okay, relation is, each relation is important. For radius it is 0.529 n square by z. For velocity of electron in nth orbit it is 2.2 into 10 power 6 z by n. Okay, now in some books you will have c by 137 times z by n. This c is Somerton's constant, something like that. I have written it, but I don't want to do that because it will just make you confused. Okay, so let's keep the subject very simple so that you enjoy it, you learn it, and you feel happy about it. Okay, right. Next is your time period of revolution. Okay, time period of revolution if you take. Okay, so time period means what? Time for one complete cycle. So you have nucleus and you have electron revolving around the nucleus. So your time period is 2 pi r by Vn, that is equal to 2 pi times Rn is 0.529 n square by z Armstrong whole divided by, okay, because your time is distance by speed, right? Because the electron is going with constant speed, you can write this as 2.2 into 10 power 6 z by n. So from this, okay, it is some constant times, you will be getting it as, okay, n cube by z square. Okay, n cube by z square. Okay, so this proportionality constant you can simplify it. Okay, so I don't have scientific calculator with me, but you will get it like this. Okay, this much if you remember, that is enough. And if you are asked omega angular frequency, it is 2 pi by time period. Like this you will be able to solve it, don't worry. Okay, so like this you are supposed to calculate. Here this relation is important. Okay, right. So it's pretty simple. I don't need to make you in any way worried. Okay, because all this is basic stuff. Okay, right. So we have seen radius, we have seen velocity, we have seen time period. Okay, now next one is, okay, energy of electron in nth orbit. Energy of electron in nth orbit. Now when it comes to energy, because the electron is moving, it will have kinetic energy, and because of the charge, some other charge, nuclear charge, okay, this electron will have two things. Okay, one is potential energy and other is kinetic energy. Now if you take potential energy is minus of k into z into e by r square, r. Okay, if you have a minus q1 charge and q2 charge like this at some distance r, your potential energy in electrostatics is given by minus k q1 q2 by r. Okay, so potential energy is a scalar, so we have to keep the minus sign. So it is minus k z into e by r. Now if you take the kinetic energy, okay, if you take the kinetic energy, now we know that your centripetal force is kz into e by r square is equal to mv square by r. So from here one r will go off, you will get kz d square by r is mv square. Half of this, half mv square will become what? Kz d square by 2r. Okay, I am multiplying with 1 by 2 on both sides from this equation. Okay, so your kinetic energy is half mv square, which is equal to k. So like this you are supposed to calculate your potential energy, kinetic energy and total energy. Okay, right. So I have stuck to the basics only. Now okay, so your energy is total energy, their relations, from where these equations are coming, all this I have explained. I am not sure all this is actually being recorded properly because slightly I have moved ahead. Okay, so your total energy expression is this. Okay, right. Now angular momentum, you can write it, mvr is equal to nh by 2 pi. Okay, so straight away you will get the answer. Okay, So with this basic idea is done. Now let us do some basic questions. Okay. So your first question is calculate radius and speed, radius of third orbit of lithium plus 2, speed of electron in fourth orbit of helium. Okay, so basic question. So come on. So first question is radius, second question is speed. So how will you solve these equations? Rn is equal to 0.529 n square by z Armstrongs. Velocity of electron in nth orbit is 2.2 into 10 power 6 z by n meters per second. Okay. So for lithium, what is the value? For helium, what is the value? That is important. Okay. So for lithium, okay, for lithium radius is, okay, nth orbit means third orbit, so 3 square by z value for lithium it is, okay, z value is 3. Okay, lithium z is equal to 3, helium z is equal to 2. So it is 3 square by 3 Armstrongs. Okay, you can write it as 0.53. What is there? 3 will go off into 3 Armstrongs. 3 3s are 9, 3 5s are 15, 1.59 Armstrongs. Okay, this side it is 2.2 into 10 power 6 into n value is 4, z value is 2, 2 ones, 2 2s, 2 ones, 1.1. So it is 1.1 into 10 power 6 meters per second. Okay, like this all the basic questions you are supposed to do it. Okay, now before I continue further, okay, so a standard set of model of questions will come. Okay, but I need to explain that in detail. So before that I'll write the summary, and in the next lecture I'll continue from where I have left off. So what is the summary is, we have seen that, okay, right? So your Rutherford's scattering experiment, n of theta is inversely proportional to 1 by sine power 4 theta by 2. Okay, next your second thing is your P initial plus Ke initial, closest distance of approach. You are using this relation, okay, so where in the closest distance of approach, in the closest distance of approach related questions, okay, you can apply conservation of mechanical energy. So at infinity, k q1 q2 by infinity, this term is becoming 0, half m v initial square is equal to, at closest distance potential energy is k q1 q2 by r min, you will substitute, plus ke final you will write it as half m v final square, but this v is 0 because body stops. Okay, now in this your k value is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. You must have studied in electrostatics, it is 9 into 10 power 9. Okay, so this I have given in Rutherford's model. Now coming to Bohr's model, okay, Bohr's model, okay, so two equations are mainly correct here, that is k q1 q2, k z d into E by r square is equal to mv square by r, and angular momentum mvr is equal to nh by 2 pi. Okay, now if these equations are valid, okay, if these equations are assumed to be valid, if these equations are assumed to be valid, okay, what is that I am getting? Okay, first formula is, okay, right, so first formula is radius of electron in nth orbit is 0.529 n square by z Armstrongs. Second, velocity of electron in nth orbit is 2.2 into 10 power 6 z by n meters per second. third one, okay, so third one it is, okay, RV. So then third one is energy of electron in nth orbit is minus 13.6 z square by n square electron volt. Okay, so here while solving problems, if you have 1 electron volt, consider this to be 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 joules. Okay, Planck's constant H value is 6.6 into 10 power minus 34 joule second. Okay, so all these questions you must remember so that you will be able to do the questions easily. Okay, so basic questions in the problem solving sessions anyhow I will be covering it, but for the sake of formality I have given it. Okay, now a different set of questions will actually come in the exam. So what are those different set of questions, I will tell you. Now remember Bohr's model, I am keeping a box here. Okay, so this cream color box that you are taking, okay, all these results are valid under these two assumptions. If these equations are assumed to be valid, then your radius is this. Okay, if nothing is mentioned, okay, fine. But if you don't consider this Coulomb's force, okay, Coulomb's force is kq1 q2 by r square is equal to mv square by r. If Coulomb's force is not valid, then all these equations will go wrong and we need to develop new set of equations. Okay, so from these areas some basic questions will come. So to explain those basic questions, some information is needed. Okay, so I will do that and then we will move ahead to the energy part. Okay, all right, so let's continue.